I'm Luke Summerhays, and I love Enamorus. At first, I thought Landorus and Thunderus were slightly lame knockoffs of Aladdin's genie. Then I learned about Fujin and Raijin and thought they were kind of cool. But there was Landorus, which kind of seemed like an unnecessary extra member. Later, though, I learned about his role as a god of crops and land, and the trio gained Therian forms based on another piece of cool Asian mythology. The Therian forms, though, are based on the 4 Guardians, but there were only 3. It shouldn't really be such a surprise, then, that many years later, in Pokemon Legends Arceus, we were introduced to Enamorus, a goddess of love or fertility, one of the first deities we see emerge in cultures all over the world. Tornadus and Thunderus and Landorus came together to grow crops, and perhaps Enamorus adds livestock to that equation. Enamorus is a fairy and flying type Pokemon with a more slender frame than the other forces of nature, as well as a heart-shaped horn and a snake-like tail with more hearts in a pattern along it. Pokemon Legends Arceus tells us, "When it flies to this land from across the sea, the bitter wind comes to an end." According to legend, this Pokemon's love gives rise to the budding of fresh life across Hisui. I haven't gone into it much when discussing the previous 3 forces of nature, but one might have asked what 3 Pokemon so clearly based on Chinese and Japanese myth were doing in a region based on New York. While there are no surefire answers, what's Darumaka doing here while we're at it? Here we see at some point in history the group were in Hisui, based on what is now Hokkaido. If Enamorus is a fertility deity, perhaps worshipped as part of raising livestock, that might also explain why she is less present in modern-day games. While many stories and Pokédex entries suggest people used to eat Pokémon meat, it doesn't appear to be the case in the modern world. Welcome back to Miles on Mon Enamorus.
This one wasn't in Gen 5, it was added in Arceus, correct?
You are correct.
Yeah, I don't remember much about it beyond, again, this one being a real pain to catch because I think it had all 3 kind of abilities that the other genies had. Like, it had the wind aura, it was shooting lightning at you, it was doing earthquakes. So I remember, like, blacking out in that game a few times because it hit me too much.
It could also hit you with an old control reversing thing.
That's it, that was kind of its special deal, right? Because it had this is one's all about the kind of attraction and sort of deal, right? It's it's a strange thing to go for because like all the other 3 are based on, you know, kind of weather, right? Like natural weather phenomenon, and then this one's like Cupid. I don't get what they're going for.
Maybe you'll find out in like a year's time when this episode comes out.
I am looking forward to it.
In her incarnate form, Enamorus is a fairly handy special attacker, not too dissimilar to the other forces of nature. In her Therian form, though, she trades speed for a huge boost in defense, making her a tank, or perhaps trick room monster, appropriate for a turtle. Legends Arceus says of this form, "A different guise from its feminine humanoid form. From the clouds, it descends upon those who treat any form of life with disrespect, and metes out wrathful, ruthless punishment." While it's too early to say if Enamorus will have competitive staying power, we can at least be certain that it fulfills a very solid role, different from the likes of Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus. With Enamorus, the 4 Guardians are complete, although in Chinese mythology they often answer to a central dragon character. Perhaps this is Curem, or the original dragon which Curem once was. Maybe we'll find the answer one day in another Legends game, or a sequel or remake to the 5th generation games. Never say never. After all, we are getting Pokemon Z. Original music for Luke Loves Pokemon is by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Funding is provided by listeners at Patreon. If you enjoy this podcast and want to check out other podcasts by me and my friends, head to podcastiopodcastias.org. I love hearing from listeners. Get in touch about upcoming Pokemon on Twitter or Facebook at LukeLovesPKMN. Drop a comment if you're watching the video, or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Coming up are Curem and Keldeo, so please get in touch about those or any other monsters. Even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Enamorus. And remember, I love you too.